Welcome to the Future of Less Work, where we uncover how work is transforming one conversation at a time. I'm Nirit Cohen, and my guests today, Stacy Pavlyshyna and Roman Sevast, turned a Tinder match into a Y Combinator-backed startup, Awesomic, a platform that helps companies find top creative and technical talent in under 24 hours. But this isn't just a Gen Z startup story. It's a window into a world where roles are fluid, work is modular, and talent comes from everywhere. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you heard more than one guest talk about the whiteboard moment, that space where we get to redesign work from scratch. Awesomic is one of those moments brought to life. From how talent is sourced, to how skills are defined, to how AI augments, not replaces, human creativity, Stacy and Roman are building something that reflects the future we keep sketching out here, episode after episode. Stacy and Roman, welcome to the Future of Less Work.
So excited to be here. Thank you. And it's such a warm introduction. How are you doing today, Nirit?
Thank you. Thank you. And, I actually want to start with this concept of a future of less work. I've been calling the podcast The Future of Less Work because I believe we want to do less of what's not important and more of what we care about. So I wonder, what do you think we believe, what do you believe we should be doing less from or of?
We definitely, with generation AI, which helps in multiple areas like code generation, design generations, working on ideas, research, and so on, we are basically speeding up and rising a value human able to produce per hour. And just like example, how we see a trend inside Awesomic that we never been focusing on tracking hour as a main metric of human performance, like, oh, you work it on some task 8 hours, so on. It actually doesn't matter, it's secondary metric. We actually track time, but we're not focusing that much, kind of like using this as a performance criteria. And what we found that with AI, a lot of we have almost 100 designers work with us worldwide, from Brazil, Argentina, Europe, Canada, US, literally anywhere. And we see that with AI, they are able to do more in a less period of time. And another trend we see is that within one specialization, let's say there have been a design illustrator, UI UX designer, motion designer, and so on. Right now, the barrier between this specialization, it's getting smaller, and designers become more full stack, multifunctional, as others say.
Yeah, and I want to get back to that, but before you go there, you're going way too fast for me. I want to backtrack back to this idea of it's not an hour as a unit, right? In the old ownership model of people, right? If I paid you, or first of all, if you worked for me, right, I owned your time. And so if you finish something with half an hour, I want to be able to give you another half an hour of work, right? So I do care how long it takes you, right? I know that when we look at salaried employees, so when you go, hire, for example, a freelancer, you hire them for doing work, but you do sort of assume that you're going to pay something different if that work takes them 5 minutes or 50 hours, right? So how do you overcome this idea that the time doesn't matter? Because frankly, you might be really skilled AI and do something in maybe a tenth of the time that it would take me. Are we going to get paid the same?
It's a great question. And I have an old story from Henry Ford factory. When they basically built a factory, they had one problem in one line, how to manufacture a car. And with one of the devices which been helping them, it's been not working. I would not go to technical details, what been there, it's not that matter. But they starting searching like what's the problem and so on, and their in-house team didn't able been figure out. And basically when the line stay for days, it's like millions of dollars, and back then $1 million would be way more than right now. So they started looking the best device mechanic who can help fix this device in their factory. They found one guy in one day. He figured out the problem, and he put a bill $10,000. It's been a lot. It's been like yearly salary back then.
And you basically said he solved the problem, so why do I care, right? I'm going to pay him $10,000.
Yeah. And Gary asked him like, why so much? And he basically provided invoice where he line by line explained it, like $9,099. It's a 30 years experience in fixing such designs, such devices, learning around this area, and so on. And just $1 to make a fix like in less than an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're basically telling me the reason in this world of people exchanging value that we do not charge by hour is because you're not paying for my hour. You're paying for everything I did that brought me here to be able to give this to you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's kind of go back and Stacy, maybe, if I go back to that concept of a whiteboard moment, when you first imagined what you guys are doing today, what this could look like, what were you trying to redesign?
Oh, that's a good moment to talk about that, because just yesterday was 6 years after we started, and Facebook reminded me just with a post, and I was rereading my own words, so fascinated by the change, because it's just a random post about, oh, guys, we are doing and testing multiple things. I'm worried about my focus, but I think that speed now is more important. So this is a new idea. In 10 days, we came up with this at that moment, like design by subscription thing. So like this concept of getting to a previous question, subscribing not to the person as much as to subscribing to getting work done, to result. I think we at work really care what we produce, right? The end thing. And this is why we collaborate with other people. So that's what we started. We were testing a bunch of ideas. Awesomic is our third business. And before we bootstrapped, which in VC world, meaning we were doing regular businesses, we were investing our own money, turning them to profit, reinvesting them back, learning. And as I'm joking, it's the best kind of investment. It's the best kind of MBA, because with your money, you're learning fast. It's just more painful and so on. So at that moment, we were just iterating on the third concept, already making a lot of mistakes that we've made. And we were thinking as users. We were struggling with having the right, reliable person delivering for kind of fraction of cost. And our previous business was online coding school, like bootcamp for teaching people software engineering skills, very practical on real project from the beginning to deployment this project. And we wanted it to look beautiful, to be visually appealing, to for brand to already speak to our user. So we understood this value, but we struggled with finding the person to deliver that in a good manner with the right set of skills, style, and just kind of reliable. I would say reliability and trust was the main issue for us as founders of the small business.
So what's wrong with regular? I guess I'm trying to understand if you're entrepreneurs, you need coders or you need UX designers. And we know today you can either hire them or you can say, I don't need a full-time person, or maybe I don't want, to have that commitment yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go on a platform and bring in a freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that not sufficient? What was the thing that said, okay, I need to build something that doesn't exist?
Oh, yeah. At that moment of time, the main value was and way to find it is go to freelance platform. And basically, what then? Putting the project, not being sure who is the right match. Usually, it takes a few weeks. The average is up to 2 weeks to land. 2 weeks to land that person who is the match. Interviewing. So there is a process of actually vetting those people, checking their portfolios. At times, it's easy if you have skills and experience of hiring, for example, designers prior. For majority of like technical founders, for example, people from other expertises, it's like, okay, how do we evaluate besides just taste? Screening process, then getting to that person. And honestly, what we struggle personally, nothing is guaranteed. So if that person who is not your hire, kind of like part-time gig, is disappearing, ghosting you, or whatever. They change their mind, or they can't deliver, or whatever, like hours, or they need to put more effort for the result to be great. Like no one can that much guarantee that thing. And we were struggling with it. Our marketing deadlines were hurt or so on. And we were like, is there any other way to have this reliability? We were at the beginning calling it like Uber for design. Now it's more verticals to match. But we were like, with Uber, you can create the trip and someone will be matched. And ideally, you can see if the person can arrive, like estimation of time, their car, more of the factors to understand that you will arrive to the destination. With creative tasks, it is indeed more complex, but still there is a process of micro iterations. So first part was landing the person, and second part was, okay, I'm having this freelancer, whoever, how do I get to the result? And this is what we built internally as part of micro iterations in Awesomic, because we guarantee that every business day in 24 hours, this person is sending you the new piece of work. So you will have new iteration to review. Therefore, we are dividing work in micro iterations. That's why complex projects and such thing as creative procrastination for people who are more into creative field, it's kind of easier because you are not obliged to send the full result after 2 weeks of all the pain and struggles and creative squeezes, rather like this is a step, and customer can react or not react, but they see the trust in this micro iterative process. Does it make sense?
Interesting. So almost like micromanaging the work, or allowing the visibility into being able to micromanage the work, right? So how do you see companies engaging with your talent, Roman, now that you've put this micro tasks in place?
It's a optional for customer if they want to have a longer iteration. It's also like as I would discuss. We found that there are a lot of frustration from the companies when they work remotely, especially with the freelancers. Sometimes they disappear, not reliable for them, and so on. From other side, talents have a problem that they don't have a stable payouts every month when they work in freelance. So Awesomic kind of like fixes all of these two problems for the customers as well. We just ask like every day, send some small update to be visible that you're working on something, reply fast to a customer if needed, have a call and so on.
Yeah, and how do you fix the other side? How do you fix the fact that the freelancers are always looking for the next job?
We search a customer for them, and when they join Awesomic, we guarantee that they get in stable payouts. So yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to create a new type of gig economy. So
Yes.
basically for both sides.
Yeah, and we would love to provide the same flexibility which remote freelance provide to the people, travel anywhere, work from anywhere, and so on. From other side, we want also provide a security which regular jobs do in like office and so on, where you basically know that next month you have a stable payout and so on. But we also provide this availability to earn more if you wish to work more. So yeah.
So do you think that that's almost like educating both sides of the organizations that are using freelancers and the freelancers themselves, and how to work with these organizations in a new way?
Yes, we definitely see that education of like both sides, like how talent communicate with the customer, how customer project manage a project and so on. It's crucial to make the service successful. So when we started, it'd been just a match, and after that, two humans work together and so on. Right now, it's a multi-step process where we also use AI to check every iteration talent did, and we provide actionable suggestion how to kind of like improve its work and so on. So yeah.
So for example, okay, so you explained the micro steps to me and I understand that, but when you say AI is looking at it, so basically if someone is sending these iterations, is there some review process that basically says this is sufficient progress, not sufficient progress?
Yeah,
So you're almost like you're automating the management function.
Yeah, we definitely, yes.
Stacy has been unmuting here, so she wants to talk.
Yeah, Stacy, go on.
Yeah, I was even thinking to add a bit more to the previous point, because we touched something very important. When starting Awesomic, one of the, like, I think, mission-driven things coming out of us was this analogy with Uber driver, they're free people, right? They're kind of entrepreneurial. They want to drive, they're on the road, they can decide how long. And it's this gig economy that we felt was a bit lacking for creative people who have a similar kind of freedom necessity in order to be like the owners of their time. And as well was, for example, matching based on industry. So what we are also providing people is, it's not as in regular work, like agency I was working in one and so on, where no, like you're accepting the work depending who the customer is. Like today it's dental clinic, tomorrow it's someone else, but you're working on the project. This is a project coming. Ideally, you might have some differentiations, but it's not a lot of control over your creativity. We're looking over that as creator is deciding what they're matching with. Do they have some red flags? Some people, for example, we're working with US companies. For some people, it's okay to work with marijuana business. For some people are not. For someone, it's legal. For someone, it's no, it's forbidden even from moral standpoint. Why would we push the person? And same from any other thing, including style. If person cannot deliver something in that style, customers squeezing from them, why would we persist? And rather than offer through the app some ethical and very convenient rematch from someone who can just step in and kind of flourish in that task. So I really like that concept of lifestyle.
But what you got me thinking though is part of the so Uber did a really great thing in that it created this economy where we can exchange value, right? But the other side of that conversation was that we felt like people were always running after the next gig, that they were not properly paid. I think that what's really interesting about what you guys are trying to do is that you've matched this with, you're not paying for time. You're actually paying for output. So if I have 30 years of experience and I can charge you, like you said, 99, $1,000 for my experience and $1 for the fact that I solved your problem, that's just fine.
Yes. And compared to what I think is lacking in gig economy, like Uber drivers, amazing, but they're not a community, right? Uber driver to Uber driver is hardly a friend. they may be like exchanging some experiences, but not much. We look at people working through us as a community, with processes built in, events like design review calls every week, groups that have specific mix up of different people meeting each other, exchanging value, doing reviews. Like it works as a like organism where people inside already being vetted, and we know that they're amazing and talented, and we check the metrics and all the satisfaction part and PS part of the business. Then they kind of decide who are the people to join, because they are taking active part in reviewing the newcomers, in being their bodies. And so it's like spreading the value through the culture. If we're standing for delivering something great, awesome, because we're Awesomic. So this is how you review people. And if you're let people who are like with weaker skills in, this is how we all struggle afterwards with delivery. So I think it helps people to see their role in how to do this co-creation of the company, how to see their role and what we create for them, actually, as their job place without a job. They even we have a big community in Ukraine. They created the word that is combination of like friendly, colleague, and friend, because they're not working at one company. They're matched with different companies each, but they are united by a Awesomic level, and that's why they're like friendlies.
Which is really interesting, because a lot of companies struggle with this idea of how do we build culture and commitment. And, if again, I go back to the ownership model, right? If I don't own you, if you're not my employee working in my office, I don't know how to build culture and community. And you're basically saying I'm taking gig employees because they don't work for me, and I match them with different companies, but they have enough in common. How do you create that? How do you create that common culture and and relationship and wanting to be together?
We create a kind of ecosystem of different meetups within Awesomic. We had a design conference when the people been able to share their knowledge and so on. Also, constantly we do online meetups, and we have a award designer of the season, like best designer last 3 months, and basically the whole community vote for each other, and the winner get a crystal cube, and basically that creates some sort of in-person engagement between them. Also, we have a position called onboarding buddy. It's a person who help a new talent within first 3 months to figure out how the things work and so on, support, and that also create a relationship. But besides that, we love to do kind of like non-work related meetups when basically they just like hang out to cheer each other for the birthday and so on. And we found multiple of such talents. They created lifelong relationships, some of them getting married, some of them getting their best friends, and we see even some talent stopping working with us. They still engage with others, their peers, they traveling together, and it's really fun to see how person join Awesomic and how their life transformed to something different, more meaningful than it was before. So that's what we try to create, kind of feeling of being
I
something.
think it's wonderful because I actually think you're intuitively and maybe not intuitively, right? But comfortable with working this way, and so you're trying to you're pulling kind of the best of both worlds, and I think that's great. I actually want to go back to the hybridization of roles, and I've been talking about it for many years now. The idea that we see these skills and these requirements and even the work shift between what used to be roles that are very separate ones, and I think you called that full stack creatives. What are you actually seeing? Why are those lines being blurred? Is it AI, or is it just the type of work, or is it people preferences?
What we see is AI impacts a lot in a way that we internally were joking that the next gods of internet will be, we were guessing, our bets are marketing people, kind of those marketing, let's say, broader builders, those holders of idea, those who can possess the ownership, and then all the tools now becoming more and more easy. The entry point, it just drops with AI. Like if you are a person with passion, and passion is one of our values, and I like to describe that for people joining is, you need to love the game. If you're on a field but you don't like what you're doing, what are you doing here? Life is too short. Go find your game. There are a lot of games to play and really enjoy that. So I think for people who are passionate about what to either create for the internet, create for offline world, create something for their kids, whatever they're into, now tools like become so democratized, so easy to use, so obvious. Like ChatGPT, almost seamless. Before, my mom could not pronounce the thing. Now it's more like already high-level discussions about the things that we can create together through it. So things like prototyping, concepting, doing what in startup world is called MVP, like this minimal viable version. To test anything, to validate, is so much easier. And then I think for a long time still, there will be a human part. We're not talking about AI taking all of this creativity layer. We need ownership. We need humans to put some spark and soul into it, to really connect the dots. What creativity is, it's basically connecting something that was not connected before, finding some hidden things. And AI can compilate existing, but not that good into like new level of creation. So I would say like this. So people becoming more full stack because those tools help them to create all entry level jobs. And recently, I think it was email that was leaked by Fiverr founder and CEO, but like LinkedIn, everyone was discussing his very blatant email to the whole team, where he was describing like, hard tasks are now easy and impossible tasks are just hard now. So let's think what we can build together with it. I think this is one of the biggest factors. I like this joke that we were all in our dreams waiting that AI is coming and now we can draw and sing and create while, I don't know, dish are done and someone is cooking, but somehow it's coming from another way,
I
not
got
us.
turned around. We're doing the dishes and AI is singing for us. Yeah, totally. I totally get it. So, since you have this so fresh perspective, I want to ask you a little bit of on this personal note. I know you're co-founders in a couple, and you're building this business together. What has this taught you about work life and the whole human side of entrepreneurship? Because I really believe we also are changing our values about, work and life and how they work together and what success looks like. What's your take on that?
I think the attitude is changing. Roman, correct me, but when we started, even like and it's our third company, we're together for almost a decade. And almost right away, we started to build together. It was unusual. I would say that people, after some speaking engagements or so on, behind the curtain, they would be like, how do you do this? Okay, so we ask all the like polite questions, but behind the scenes, what was really like juiciest meat, like how do you survive, how do you build that? Someone shared that it's a red flag. Some of the investors like rejected us because of it, but it's a good thing. We had a chance to find our people and also to meet people who are so much believing in that concept, because like the longest, most successful sustainable businesses, a lot of times family businesses, those like generational stuff. So it's not a new concept. I think that people are now more and more built that way. I mean, like partners or families, close people. And one of those is, to me, my personal observation, oh, my therapy and things that we just democratize, talking about problems, talking about overcoming challenges, uh, mediation, couple therapy, coaches, all those like as we were saying before, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And now we're so lonely and so individual and so like capitalistic, but it still takes a village to do some big thing. So I think one of our like what helped us and what I'm sharing with other people going through similar way, it's accelerated adulthood because you need to kind of be mature in that relationship to be seen, to hear other person, but also it's important to divide roles, to be very clear on who you're interacting with in which role now, because we possess different roles in our lives. Like we are co-founders, it's like horizontal role, it's one dynamic of communication. There is a role of romantic partners, and it's something very different. My expectations there are different, and I'm like my needs are different there. That's just normal. And the third thing might be something that would be very unpleasant for most to figure out, but it's still existing. It's your vertical in the company. Like Roman's the CEO, I'm the employee, and some conversations are happening this way. It's like I'm CEO and I want you just like commit to the thing, not bring me your co-founder's perspective. It's not the meeting for this. So I would suggest just be very mindful about those roles and be very open to communicating with your partner about what do you need right now and how do you want to interact for this communication to be effective, and which role do you want this to be heard.
So we talk about portfolio careers and the fact that we have more than one job, and you're basically saying I have more than one role at any given time in my work and life situation, which is is fabulous. Roman, maybe kind of my closing question that I always wrap up with. I want to ask you, what we talk, we always ask questions and we expect answers. I actually want to ask you, what's the one question you think we should all be asking ourselves about the future of work?
Um, I Yeah, it's a great question, and I would say how we can move faster in general, how we can maximize our each own value, because like right now it's one of the best time we live in. Yes, there are a lot of transformation, a lot of kind of uncertainty and so on, but if you would look on the other side, like best outcome out of this transformation of future of the work. We are right now, cancer vaccine are getting tested in a few years, they would be on the market. Other disease potentially could be cured. We already free from writing a meeting notes after meetings. AI help us. So a lot of things kind of like getting better and better. And from other side, getting access to basic things like food, clothes, medicine, and so on, getting more affordable. Again, a lot of people would battle on this, like inflation and so on. But if you would look on the graphs, poverty on the highest low, medicine and life time getting longer and so on. So all metrics are getting better, and I'm just thinking what I personally can do to kind of like push the world faster into new, better reality. So yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Stacy and Roman. Thank you for joining me today. For more about Stacy and Roman's work, visit Awesomic.com. Check out the links in the episode description. Thank you for joining us on The Future of Less Work, where we're piecing together the ever-changing puzzle of work. And remember, the new social contract is a win-win between people and organizations. Your best people do not work because they have to, nor because you tell them to, nor because you measure them on it. They work because they want to, because by working for you, they're also achieving their purpose in life. Until next time.